earlier, but still, I don't know the exact place. We will find out soon. Thank you, Shervo. Well, One Nation has defended its multi-million-dollar fundraising campaign blitz after coming under questioning from Anthony Albanese. The Prime Minister threw doubt on whether Pauline Hanson really raised more than $2 million in 2 days in a campaign aimed at him called Fire the Liar.
Did she though? Did she though? Did she? What evidence is there?
Why would I call out the liar, fire the liar, then go and do something like that myself? It would destroy me.
For their take, let's bring in news.com.au reporter Andrew Bucklow and journalist Jenna Clark. Good morning to you both. OK, let's talk about the theatre of this. One Nation has appointed an auditor, apparently, who has verified that this fundraiser is legitimate. Jenna, is it a bad look from the PM to question it in the first place?
I don't think it's a bad look, Mom, but it's funny when I think we've caught him on the hop when they quizzed me about it yesterday. And I think, they're always talking about, we're months out from an election. This isn't a big deal. But it really is, because everyday Australians have reached into their very shallow pockets at this point in time and handed over their very hard-earned cash, which none of us have a lot of it these days, to donate to One Nation to oust this guy. So I'd be very worried if I were the Labor operatives right now.
Yeah, people are putting their money where their mouth is. We've seen the polls, and now we're actually seeing this translate into hard cash. When the Prime Minister engages with One Nation, engages with Pauline Hanson one-on-one like this, does it legitimise her even more and make her look like the opposition more than the opposition?
I 100% agree. At the end of the day, this is a minor party, right? And when the PM has to come out and comment on these kind of things, it does elevate One Nation and Pauline Hanson, which is a problem. But, as Jenna said, this is basically a $2 million protest vote against Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party. People are so angry. And the interesting stat was that this is 28,000 people who've donated just $59, which shows that this is everyday Aussies. And they're really putting the PM on notice and saying, we don't feel like you're governing for us anymore. Make life easier, or come the next election, you're out.
OK, does it also show how frustrated people are and that they are looking, as we have seen in other parts of the world, that they are just looking for an alternative to what we now have? We're sick of you all, right? We just want something completely different.
Absolutely. I think the catalyst for this was probably the budget, where people, I think it probably caught a lot of in government unawares that there are just everyday Australians and a lot of young Australians that are trading on the stock market because everyone's just trying to, hustle any way they can. So I think it is a massive wake-up call to both the coalition and the government right now, and it's going to be really interesting to see who puts their hand up to actually run for One Nation come the next election.
I get that people are angry, though, and they're looking for answers, but I just hope that when people are choosing to support a different political party, that they're actually doing their research and finding out what it is exactly they're putting their money towards. Because personally, to me, One Nation has always kind of represented division, and yes, Australia needs answers right now, but I'm not sure that they're the party that I want in power eventually.
Well, the division that we are seeing at a national level in terms of what people agree in seems as if it's also happening inside our schools. Are we losing the art of discussion and disagreement? A new survey which has been published in the Daily Telegraph has found that 1 in 5 teachers say many students struggle to separate a different opinion from a personal attack. And when we see things like the Ditch the Witch campaign that we have seen this week about the Victorian Premier, Jacinta Allen, is it any wonder that there can't be a respectful discussion in schools? Yeah, but
you look at our political discourse, then you also even look at all the discourse that kids are maybe consuming on social media if they're, over the age of 16, or just I think this is where the onus does lay on what happens in the family home. Like, I think one of the greatest achievements you can make as a parent is encouraging critical thought with your child and knowing that, not everyone gets a participation award in life. Sometimes there are winners and losers, but showing a difference of opinion and a different way that people live and understand the world, I think that's the most critical part to make teachers' lives a lot easier. And I think, civil debate is an absolute necessity in our world moving forward. OK, that is something that the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has been talking about, take the heat out of things and have respectful discussions. Whether he always does that or not is another question. But the fact that I think about when I was at school and you were a little bit scared of the teachers, so you would be respectful even for that reason.
Yeah, Yeah, well, it's the kids I feel sorry for at the end of the day, because learning how to debate and have a respectful discussion with other students, listen to their point of view, accept some of their points, challenge them on others, is such a fundamental part of your education. And if they're not taught that, we're sending a whole generation of kids out into the world unequipped with those skills and unsure of how to handle the moment when someone does disagree with them.
Yeah, it's that conflict, that learning how to deal with conflict that is such a maturing thing.
Yeah, and I would be so proud if my kid came home and said I took someone down with my blazing rhetoric as opposed to, winning a running race or something like that, because it's such a gift. And I think that it also goes back to the love of language and starting with that, trying to fight someone in a critical space as opposed to, with fisticuffs or with swear words or with silly slogans that we're seeing in the political space.
If your kid comes home and says stunning rhetoric, then I am coming to study your parenting, how you've managed that. Now, finally, changing tack completely. It's winter, the Ugg boots are out, but should they be kept inside and out of the public eye? The debate is back. Eleanor Wickland, who's writing for news.com.au, stepping across the front door in them remains one of the nation's most fiercely contested fashion choices. For some, wearing them to the local shops is a birthright, while for others, it is an unforgivable sin that signals that you've entirely given up. Are there inside shoes and outside shoes?
I am not an Ugg boots man, okay? Personally, I just can't handle them. And I think sometimes people will go to the shops wearing them and think they're kind of doing effortless chic. It's not effortless chic. They're giving Kath and Kim is what they're giving. It's so bogan and I'm not into it.
Well, see, now I want to come to the aid of Kath and Kim. They're the style icon in my life. Good on the girls from Fountain Lakes. Look, I think on certain people it looks amazing. And I tip my hat to those that decide to be brave enough to wear them outside the house, because I know a lot of people walking their dogs, running to the gym, going to the shops. I could never do it because I would probably look like I belong, in some sort of habit bag or something like that. But look, I love it.
I walked in this morning and we started talking about this discussion and I was wearing these. I was shamed for that.
No, I love.
But these are the most comfortable things I've ever had. Let us know. Are you wearing your Ugg boots right now? What do you believe? Are you allowed to wear this? You're going to say something mean about my